Okay, I'm trying to squeeze these in here. We'll see if we're able to finish them or not. It's like, no matter what kind of music you like, everybody still knows his music, and you can't help but like it. You can't help but like it.
Is there any grave that is figuratively defiled on a more regular basis than that of Michael Jackson?
Bye,
the man's
Mr.
body
J.
wasn't cold before tabloid snapshots of it
later.
were circulating in the press, assiduously cataloging everything from the shape and consistency of his hairpiece, to his vitiligo diagnosis, to every drug in his system when he expired. Sony plundered his tomb, of course, thereafter, as the estate repulsively
I'll probably
sold
check
the
those out
Beatles and
sometime,
Elvis
yeah.
music catalog. He fought tooth and claw to never surrender in life. And now,
we're in a different
the tabloids
room.
are back for a fourth fucking helping.
better
This
camera.
time, with the aid of a hack filmmaker and two long-discredited dipshits in tow. The name? Leaving Neverland. A drockumentary, because enlisting thespians to tell you the real truth is always a good sign.
Yeah,
Just
he
ask
has a
Birth of a
pointy
Nation,
ear.
that alleges everything from child
Hi,
weddings to
Rob.
preteen pooper parties without any of that pesky fact-checking in tow. Now, I made what I believe would be my final word on the Michael Jackson allegations 2 years previous, on the mistaken assumption that once dispelled, a human being's natural tendency to fact-check and consider the source would forestall any further efforts at disinformation. And folks, I stand fucking corrected. But the spurious allegations did leap from thin fucking air, and as such we must first unveil the source. In this case, the dual source. Two repeat accusers, both former associates of Michael Jackson's, and both of whom have the credibility of a one-armed sword fighter. The first, and for some baffling reason, widely considered most credible accuser, is one Jimmy Safechuck, who claimed, among other things, that he was abused by Jackson shortly after appearing in the 1988 Pepsi advertisement. Now tuck that factoid away, because connecting allegations of abuse with massively public incidents that trigger an immediate emotional outcry from the public is sort of kind of recurrent element in all the Michael Jackson allegations, and I personally believe is kind of the fucking point. Now, putting aside that Jimmy Safechuck claimed in 2014, when he filed a molestation suit against the Jackson estate that, quote, "this should trigger a flood of victims to come forward," and ultimately said flood amounted to literally one other fucking dude with a laundry list of credibility problems, Safechuck's assertions don't carry an ounce of weight for myriad reasons. First and foremost, he was subpoenaed to appear at the 2005 trial and ran for the fucking hills instead. Yet, as will become a familiar tale in the coming rant, upon becoming a father and getting therapy, he had a road to Damascus moment and sued the estate of a dead man for damages. Yet, here's where it gets interesting. If you read the legal briefs, all of which are available to the public, you see Safechuck's approach was to describe the MJ estate as, quote, a school, and therefore liable to all the children within it. An assertion so laughable the judge even called it out by name, but it does raise an even more alarming factor. If MJJ Productions was, as Safechuck alleges, a school, that would make them not merely civically, but criminally liable for the molestation you resoundingly fucking failed to prove. So here's a fucking query. Why didn't you file a criminal case? Whatever the answer, I'm certain it has nothing whatever to do with the fact that filing a criminal case wouldn't get you any goddamn money. Safechuck's allegations go from cockeyed to pear-shaped when it later emerged that they appear to have been copied from a 1997 book laughably entitled Michael Jackson Was My Lover, The Secret Diary of Jordy Chandler, reputed to be assembled from the private documents of Jordan Chandler, the accuser in 1993, and which ludicrously alleged the author possessed a copy of a videotape depicting Jackson having sex with a preteen child. The problem? When pressed in court to provide proof of the author's source, he failed to produce anything at all. No videotape, no diary. Jackson, needless to say, won the lawsuit, and Gutierrez fled to fucking Chile without paying a peso. Fast forward to 2014, Safechuck is now repeating multiple libidinous lies.
We are watching the videos from Razorfist about Michael Jackson
That appear to have been originally culled from the pages of Gutierrez's book. Take page 79. He describes a scene in which Jordan Chandler and another child, Brett Barnes, suffer anal contact from Jackson. But wait!
Shut up,
In
Cy.
1993, during a session with a doctor who examined Jordan Chandler, he stated outright no anal contact of any kind had taken place. To make matters worse, the other child involved in this hallucinatory scenario, Brett Barnes, still defends Jackson to this day. Check his Twitter if you don't believe me. Later, the book describes Jackson presenting a medallion as a kind of man-boy marriage token, one repeated by the ludicrous film that was just screened for the Saps at Sundance. In the book, he apparently gives this token to Wade Robson, and wouldn't you know it? In Safechuck's lawsuit, he miraculously mentioned the same medallion, but this time, the recipient is himself. Sure. Not only is Safechuck copying lies, he's copying easily disproven ones from a book that was busted for libel and slander, no less. This is the kind of shit Michael Jackson dealt with for 25 fucking years, folks. And you wonder why he's dead.
25 years of this shit.
Gimme Safechuck's lawsuit was laughed out of court in June of 2017. Yet, as Double Jeopardy precludes his trying for the same trick twice, still yearning for a payday, the Prince of Prevarication decided he'd handily skirt the suit being thrown out by amending it slightly and dovetailing it with another man's case. Wade Robson. Now, this is a name you might actually have heard of. At one time, owing, I'm sure, absolutely nothing to his longtime association with Michael Jackson, Robson was one of the most in-demand dance choreographers on the pop circuit. The explosion of boy bands and pop princesses in the early 2000s providing ample fodder for the fuckbag, culminating in a sordid episode you may have heard of in the Justin Timberlake single Cry Me a River, which tells the tale of his then-girlfriend Britney Spears boinking a backup dancer behind his back, ending in an inevitable breakup. Now, many have since conflated the figure named in the song as Britney's ex, Kevin Federline, but in truth, it was actually her choreographer, Wade Robson, with whom she appeared at multiple events for their blink-and-you-miss-it relationship in 2002. TMZ twattery aside, the boy band Cash had already started to dry up in 2005 when Wade Robson took part in the Michael Jackson molestation case as a witness for the defense. That's right, gang, Wade Robson, the primary source for this sweepingly factual fucking mockumentary, put his hand on a Bible and stated under oath and with zero coercion that Michael Jackson never did dick to him. Now you tell me, if you've been boinking a kid in the butt for 7 years, are you gonna let the same child sashay within 113 miles of the courtroom, much less allow him to potentially incriminate you by subjecting him to cross-examination on the witness stand? Even Wade Robson's own mother said in her 2016 deposition that every time she asked him point blank if he was ever touched by Jackson, he emphatically denied it. Quote, "He should have had an Oscar."
Are you still friendly with Michael?
Yeah, we still talk every couple months, catch up.
You do, really?
Yeah.
Well, what's he like?
What's he like? He's a good guy.
Is he a good guy?
Yeah.
Show me where he touched you. Nothing
Same place he touched you.
Nothing ever like that? No nonsense, no shenanigans?
This is what the film is based on, folks. And
what the fuck was that? Yeah, that was in no way funny at all. And not only that, why would you like that? That was so awkward. What the fuck? Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel is a fucktard. He is an absolute fucktard.
So we ride the eternal carousel of incredulity that is Wade Robson. In short, to believe Wade Robson is to believe he is a serial fucking liar. Unless you claim he merely defended the King of Pop in a court of law as a result of a stern browbeating, Robson reiterated as recently as mere months before he alleged abuse to begin with that he was never touched, and he did so without prompting to rolling fucking video cameras.
I'm starting on Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson show. So it's, you know, the equivalent of the Beatles Love show that they have, or the Elvis show, but for Michael, which is
that would have been cool to see,
exciting. And
I wonder if there's like YouTube videos of that, of the Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson thing. That'd be cool to see.
Terrifying all at the same time because it's such a huge responsibility. But that was why I took it on. You know, Michael was such a huge part of my career and life. We were friends for 20 years before he passed, since I was 7. So it's an opportunity for me to give back a little bit to his legacy. It's such a big part of his legacy, and to make sure as much as I can that it's done right and that it really represents his essence.
And it's a hell of a thing, but after being
I was expecting this guy, I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting this guy to be a complete douche, and it turns out he's not. He's not a douche. Good job, guy.
involved with a dancing reality show right around the time it was
Hello,
canceled, and shortly after not only Michael's death, but after the Michael Jackson estate decreed they would not avail themselves of Wade Robson's services in the Michael Jackson 1 project with Cirque du Soleil, it's then, and only then, that Robson, reputedly while on a boat, is struck with the same Damascus flashbang Gimme Safechuck beheld, and he sees the molestation light. But does he level legal accusations immediately? Hell the fuck no! Like all accusers before him, he first tries his case in the media.
Now he's breaking his silence about his claims that Michael Jackson sexually abused him beginning at age 7.
Every time we were together, it happened.
Did I speak too soon? Did I speak too soon? Hello, lobotomized!
There was no night that went by that I was with him.
God damn it,
that he didn't sexually
man.
abuse me.
Now,
Fuck!
when you testified in 2005, and you took the stand and you raised your right hand and you swore under oath that nothing sexual ever happened between you and Michael Jackson, why did you lie?
You know, I said what I understood, and I said what I was able to say.
Shortly thereafter,
What does that
Robson
even
approached the
mean?
estate for an easy payday and was jollied on his fucking way. Cue the lawsuit and resultant media hyperbole. Robson lawsuit expected to trigger avalanche of accusers. Funny, where have I heard that one before? Robson's repressed memory may be key to finally bringing MJ's victims some measure of justice, which, by the by, is in direct conflict with Robson's own revised
so he is a
allegations.
douche.
They've been revised a number of times, you see, wherein he states that his memory of the molestation was never in fact repressed, but he simply didn't know it was molestation and that it was wrong. A curious assertion given that he sat in on the 2005 trial where they explicitly stated hundreds of times that the conduct of which Michael was fallaciously accused was not only wrong, but illegal. Evidently it takes a decade or two for Robson's thingy-majig to kick the fuck in and process information he was told hundreds of times during the trial he voluntarily testified in. Interestingly enough, this also conflicts with a statement he made during the 2005 trial where he said of actual molestations, quote, "I never had that experience, and I hope it never happened to anyone else." That sound like someone who doesn't know it's wrong to you?
No.
As for the numerous Robson revisions, first,
What
he
an
claimed Michael
ass.
Jackson told him that if he ever told anyone, they would both go to jail.
He says Jackson warned they would both go to jail if anyone found out.
Yeah,
so for
okay.
decades, Robson defended Jackson, saying he never molested anyone.
Why he would still believe that bullshit as an adult man in a courtroom in 2005, and more importantly, why he would fail to inform fucking anyone despite being asked multiple times until 4 fucking years after Michael Jackson's death, remains one of the many nebulous queries his legal team routinely fails to fucking answer. As such, he switched the story up almost immediately, claiming Michael Jackson coached him in an elaborate form of roleplay over the phone, which he alleged made him a, quote, master of deception. On that, at least, Wade, we fucking agree. The method of mastery over his hapless juvenile victims, you inquire? Brace for some serious...
Yeah, like this guy went so far as to like do choreography for Cirque du Soleil, Michael Jackson, and all this stuff talking about he wants to help preserve his legacy. You're not gonna do that for somebody that touched your no-no square. It doesn't make any sense.
Psychoanalysis here. But Michael's entire technique, according to Wade Robson's deposition, was to say over the phone, hey, they're trying to take our careers away by lying about us and saying we did disgusting sexual stuff. Let's fight them. Click. The Mephistophelian mind of serial molester Michael fucking Jackson, my friends. And he wants us to believe that programming somehow held for 2 goddamn decades. Never mind that this contradicts with the version he gave the Sundance filmmakers, where he now alleges Michael told him the encounters were, quote, an expression of love.
Michael told me that we loved each other and that this was
God
love,
damn it,
that this
Cy.
was an expression of our love.
Well, which Which is it,
Stop
Robbo?
bringing out
Because
the
it seems to me,
spoon.
depending on who you're talking to, Michael's description fucking inverts. Incidentally, Wade Robson's mother proffers still a third version of events, wherein Wade claimed he couldn't handle the shame of admitting the assaults took place, something Wade Robson's own deposition overtly contradicts. When the prosecutor explicitly asked, quote, "When you testified at the criminal trial in 2005, did you feel any sense of shame?" He replies, quote, "No, I didn't. I didn't have any. As I stated, I didn't have any perspective on it." Before extrapolating that, quote, "I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that at any time pre-May 2012. Unquote. 3 different versions, and we're not even to the deposition yet. Motherfuckers, the George Lucas of molestation allegations. To say nothing of how utterly batshit Michael would have to be to enlist Wade Robson in his defense not only in 2005, but as far back as interviews from 1993, when he now alleges he was being actively abused.
A second family claiming to be friends with the entertainer was introduced to CNN late Thursday by an associate of Jackson's.
Yeah, you know, there's been different times where it'll just be me and Michael. Then there'll be other times where he has other friends over too. That's what, like what Brett said, it's just a slumber party. We just have a lot of fun.
And, you know, I've slept in the same bed as Michael. It's just you watch cartoons, you fall asleep. You know, it's just a friendship. And I know he would never do anything to hurt my brother. He's the nicest guy you've ever met.
I've been there when these kids have been in Michael's room. I've been there with them. It's just party time. They watch videos, they eat junk food, they play video games.
Look at all that credible evidence, eh? Good thing HBO doesn't do pesky shit like fact check. And then, in December 2017, Wade Robson, with Jimmy Safechuck in tow, was once again laughed the fuck out of court. Now, the rejoinder from the fuckwits at MJ Facts is that only the estate was absolved of responsibility if the molestation indeed occurred, which sounds lovely when you subsist in an ideological fuck bubble publishing character assassination all goddamn day and huffing your own fucking farts. In reality land, where we don't use e-drama websites as primary fucking sources, the judge was Mitchell Beckloff, a family court judge, and thus more than amenable to a prospective molestation case. If he'd considered the accusations credible, even if he'd then thrown the case out on technicalities anyway, no chance in 9 nebulous hells he wouldn't have at least weighed in on the efficacy of their validity. Yet in his final ruling, Beckloff uttered not one mumbling fucking word about it. Really gets the old almonds activated, folks. Anyone with an iota of legal understanding comprehended immediately what these post-mortem accusations truly were. A flagrant attempt to incite an out-of-court settlement from an estate seeking to spare the dead singer's name from beyond the grave, at least one of which was a vengeful retaliatory act for being shut out of profits from the Michael Jackson Cirque du Soleil spectacular. One they sadly had every reason to believe they would get, given that the Michael Jackson estate is represented by the same legal team that pressured Michael to not fight the 1993 charges and settle instead for a sum most normal people would find substantial, but which Michael could make on one portion of one fucking tour. Yet inexplicably, they actually fought this time and won! Something Michael's defense attorney in 2005, Tom Mesereau, feared may not happen at all. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the ironclad credibility of the 2 primary sources for Leaving Neverland, the new folkumentary being hyperbolically described by the leaning tower of journalistic credibility at Jezebel as arresting and horrifying by the hookah-sucking hipsters at Sundance. The response is typical.
Has anybody watched that? The Michael Jackson documentary? I didn't even know it existed. I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm kind of curious now. No?
Can't win it in the
Oh,
courts?
you have?
Credibility
Okay.
torpedoed like the Lusitania? Fuck it! Try your case in the media. In fact, Robson was reportedly already shopping a book deal as early as late 2012, specifically about the Michael Jackson allegations. Man, he recovered quick! As I said, this is a familiar tactic with those looking for payouts from the King of Pop. The original accuser in 1993, bafflingly believed by most of the public to be the most credible of the allegations, was never actually intended to be a criminal case, as the family privately approached Michael for money,
Yeah, they
and it was only
probably are.
after
You're
they
probably
were
right.
turned down
Hi,
that they
Phoebe.
proceeded with a civil suit, despite the DA downright begging them to prosecute criminally. And given the recorded phone call with the father, it's pretty obvious the reason why.
This man is going to be humiliated beyond belief. He will not believe it. He will not believe what's going to happen to him. Beyond his worst nightmares. Sell one more record. If I go through with this, I win big time. I will get everything I want. They will be destroyed forever.
It's right there in white, black, and bullshit.
Wow.
Give me money or get wrecked in the media. Look, this is a repeated pattern with Michael, and as much as MJ fans may not want to admit it, it does stem from a character flaw, just not the horrific allegation of pedophilia. Michael, according to everyone from Corey Feldman to former wife Lisa Marie Presley, had a curious Elvis Presley-esque tendency to freeze you the fuck out if he was displeased with you in any way.
If he got uncomfortable or felt vulnerable, he would ice you out as a mechanism. He'd push you away and ice you. It was like a shark sometimes in that way. You could just, you know, you've done him wrong or whatever, so you were out.
Now I ask you, what happens when a parent stops responding to a human fucking kid? What happens when they freeze them the fuck out? Do they calmly sit in the corner with their crayons and coloring books? Or do an overwhelming plurality set about kicking up a tantrum to secure your attention and get what they goddamn want? And nothing grabbed Michael's attention like media misinformation. If Michael had one frayed, exposed nerve, the parasites could work like a pommel horse. It was his hatred of tabloid stink pieces. And it's no accident that every accuser thereafter went to the reporters before they went to the popos, sometimes in direct defiance of police advice. And an addendum to the fuckwits who alleged that, well, the 2005 case was flimsy and that's why he got off, that 1993 case was a bottomless wellspring of criminality. Why else would he have settled out of court? Here's a happy little factoid. For all intents and purposes, Michael Jackson was acquitted of both the 2005 and 1993 cases simultaneously. See, since Michael had been persuaded to settle by his lawyers and insurance company to continue his tour in '93, DA Tom Sneddon was positively possessed. He pushed for the adoption of a statute in California that stipulates that in any case of criminal molestation, evidence of prior acts may be admitted in concert. Meaning even though the family settled in '93, the evidence was still legally allowed in court. And in the case of the mother, she did. The accuser, Jordan Chandler himself, skipped the country to avoid having to appear, mind you, which is also why 2 bodyguards and a maid that claimed Michael had boinked Macaulay Culkin in 1993 were allowed to testify. Only to be stunned when Macaulay Culkin himself, who had every reason not to show thanks to an early 2000s career revival, decided he'd be one of the very first witnesses for the fucking defense. A defense Culkin has maintained ever since.
What happened at the house? That's what all these things that people are
that's
concerned
what's so
about.
weird, you know.
What did happen?
Nothing happened, you know. I mean, nothing really. I mean, we played video games, you know. We played it as an amusement park. Well, the thing is with that whole thing is that, you know, they go, oh, you slept in the same bedroom as him. It's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories. And it has like 3 bathrooms and this and that. So when I slept in his bedroom, yeah, but you have to understand the whole scenario. And the thing is with Michael is that he's not very good at explaining himself, and he never really has been, because he's not a very social person. I mean, you're talking about someone who's been sheltered and sheltering himself also for the last 30 years.
And he wasn't the only one, with Lisa Marie Presley, who was actively warring with Michael in the press at the time, still defending his heterosexuality, even in the face of a rather tasteless grilling by Howard Stern.
Can you even tell us, were you sexually satisfied by Michael Jackson?
Well, the answer would be, would I have married someone that I wasn't?
But, I mean, it was a real marriage, like between husband and wife. It was a consummated marriage. Yep, it was. Okay, that's all. Yeah, so in your mind, it was real.
To me, yes, it was.
This is one of the reasons I break company with many MJ fans when they defame Lisa Marie Presley. In late '99, Lisa had every reason to throw Michael under the bus. And she did in certain ways. But the one subject she never wavered on was that she had a normal, heterosexual, married relationship with the man and never witnessed any molestation.
As for Michael's current controversy fueled by the British documentary,
that was a train wreck, you know.
Lisa Marie says she never saw any inappropriate behavior.
If I had seen anything, believe me, his ass would have been hanging from a tree. So, I don't know. I never saw anything like that.
Even while actively lobbing verbal hand grenades at the guy in the wake of 2 nasty breakups, she maintained right up until his death that theirs was a perfectly normal sexual relationship. And in 2 years of marriage and another 5 fucking each other under the radar thereafter, she never saw one kid get fiddled with. Oh, and as an aside, after Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck had their case kicked down their teeth by an actively sympathetic judge, they combed the countryside for none other than 1993 accuser Jordan Chandler, who reportedly fled the country again. Well, there's your open and shut shit show, folks. Thrown out by a judge twice, one of whom testified under oath 10 years before that it never fucking happened, only to change his tune after the tanking of his career. But oh, now that it's in a shitty Sundance flick, it's magically fucking credible. Funny, I once saw a film about a fucking geek in green pajamas that flies through space with a magic superhero ring. Must be a goddamn documentary. And fun fact, it's not even the first film of its type. Noted disinformation foundry BBC4 aired its own Aspie Algonquin in 2011, much of which I already rebutted in my previous video. A fact I forgot to mention, though, it emerged shortly before release that the film's primary source was none other than the same Victor Gutierrez whose book Safechuck's allegations appear to be mimeographed from. Oops. But hey, now the lies are at Sundance, so that magically makes them credible. If you believe this bullshit, you also believe Jenna Jameson doesn't know the taste of penicillin. I'm Razor Fist. Try earning your money like normal people and let the poor man rest. God fucking speed.
Yeah, it was. He has a way with words, doesn't he?
You know, I'm not sure what's more sad, that HBO's Leaving Neverland narcolepsy remedy went ahead despite confirmed disinformation festoon the fuck throughout, omnipresent timeline discrepancies, and long debunked hearsay, or that a video I recorded before I'd even fucking seen it preemptively decimated almost every word of it, sight unfucking seen. As such, a third part of the Michael Jackson...
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, too, like, after watching these so far, there's, like, a bunch of stuff I want to look up. I want to look into some of the stuff he's been talking about, and I want to watch the documentary he was talking about, Leaving Neverland. I'm really curious about that now.
Rebuttal was almost outright needless, and it might not have existed at all, if not for the fucking reaction. I confess, I'd forgotten what blathering fucking sheep human beings can be. It's been so long since the prolonged media-mongering shit show of 2005, the fallout of which, for the record, was much more intense toward Michael Jackson than what we're currently experiencing, and thus I'd caution both MJ fans, disbelievers, and blog humping hacks alike to dial it the fuck down with the Michael Jackson is finally done articles, when, frankly, Michael Jackson ain't half as done as he was in 2005, and 3 years later, he was in full comeback mode. Hyperbole's a bitch. I ought to know. It's the source of my power. That said, it's a testament to the manipulative power of documentaries as a fucking format, however, that the dearth of evidence presented in Leaving Neverland, a documentary that documents absolutely nothing and features little apart from the same two accusers telling unconfirmable anecdotes for 4 fucking hours, in no way precluded even those who fancy themselves journalistic goddamn gumshoes from declaring that 4 hours of mood lighting, piano music, and goddamn drone shots can conceivably stand in for substantive fucking evidence. And most recently, Lil Ben Shapiro decided a mountain of countervailing evidence, 2 grand jury dismissals, and a courtroom exoneration on 14 fucking counts wasn't quite enough to overcome Wade Robson's aggressively contradictory, distemporal fucking fantasy yarn.
Yeah, that's just a normal human tendency. We tend to make snap judgments about people, and then we take those judgments too far and we generalize more broadly. Well, 2 things are true of Michael Jackson. Immensely talented human being, evil pedophile, right? Those 2 things are true of Michael Jackson, at least if the allegations are to be believed, which all evidence suggests they should be.
Yeah, what immutable evidence would that be, Ben? That Gimme Safechuck's mother claims in the documentary you claim you goddamn watched that she, quote, danced when she heard of Michael's death in 2009.
Gritty Goose on the Ben Shapiro.
That he died. I was laying in bed. The news came on. I got out of bed and I was, oh, thank God he can't hurt any more children.
Despite her son stating in both a sworn court deposition and in the self-same stink piece he, quote, never realized he was abused until 2013.
He sexually abused me from 7 years old until 14.
So when you saw Wade on the Today Show, that triggered you to feel what?
I panicked, like I was being caught, honestly.
Meaning both he and his mother are officially fucking time travelers? And hey, maybe there's something to that time traveler hypothesis, because Safechuck alleges his abuse intensified after a Grammy Award performance in 1989 in New York, despite the Grammys being held in Los Angeles that year, where Michael Jackson never once performed, by the by. All signs point to believe, do they, Benzo?
And people are having a really tough time connecting those two. They're having a really tough time overcoming the cognitive dissonance of, I like Michael Jackson's music, and I was a big fan of his when I was 10, with Michael Jackson was an evil human being who preyed upon children.
How fucking old does this ass be? Anybody above the age of a zygote remembers the 2005 fucking funnel cloud of TV and print propaganda alleging everything from hidden rape dungeons to sophisticated pedophilia networks, all of which, fucking all of it, being presented in a court of law, and all 14 counts of which he was fucking exonerated of. Ben, buddy, 4 of those counts were fucking misdemeanors. If one half of what was said in court, let alone in this laugh riot of a schlockumentary, had actually been factual, Michael would have at least been guilty of 1 of the misdemeanor counts of child endangerment. Yet for all your pronouncements that Michael paid his way out of prison, in a trial that was scheduled for 5 months, he was cleared in fucking 4. Not just not guilty, not goddamn guilty. And Michael was still routinely identified with criminal kiddie rape and broader entertainment media thereafter. Yet you're alleging people are reticent? They're having a tough time believing the bullshit accusations? On what planet and in what fucking solar system? Time Warner, CNN, ABC, MSNBC, Oprah, BBC, sources you routinely discredit for self-evident bias. All of these sources were slavering at the prospect of at last lynching Michael Jackson for the crime of which he has since been cleared. And that's without even indulging in naming the unremitting procession of unctuous obliviati, parroting what amounts to 4 hours of fucking anecdotes.
I'm so disappointed that this guy turned out to be a piece of shit. I really was hoping like this guy would have been on his side, because he really seemed like he was, you know, a good friend at first. And it turns out he sucks.
Absent actual evidence.
This enraging film by Dan Reed inspired a lawsuit against the pay cable channel from Jackson's estate, which desperately wants people not to see a story that may significantly diminish the value of his brand. It's a wonder there's any brand left to defend, given that 4 men have now made detailed, credible claims that Jackson sexually abused them as minors.
What detail? Contradictory?
Well, I mean, I think after he came out, quote unquote, with his accusation, Michael was already passed away. So I guess he didn't have to experience the betrayal, but holy.
Generalities about a general year in a general place? Look, I can kind of understand it, as on the few occasions Wade does name a specific time and place.
Not that that makes it any better, but you know.
Contradict what those in Michael's inner circle, never mind his fucking family, already know to be factual. Case in point, the segment near the end of the film where Wade obliquely alludes to Michael Jackson having a possible alcohol problem, as Mike allegedly simply left the dinner table and the children all to their goddamn lonesome.
We had some, those sort of larger red plastic cups, and he grabbed one of those and just...
Those are called solo cups, buddy. Let me educate you. Okay? They're called solo cups.
Filled one up to the brim, you know, with white wine, and Michael
had solo
I'm gonna go upstairs
cups,
for a second.
apparently.
30 minutes goes by, an hour goes by, you know, nothing from Michael. He never comes back.
That's
down.
right, Rob
Amanda
knows.
and I are like, hey, you know, what do we do?
Yeah, I have some in my
I'm
cabinet.
asking the kids, like, do you want to go check on?
I keep them.
I
have cups too, and I still have them. I still buy them. I don't know if it's like a Southern thing, but you know.
I mean, he's okay.
Robson alleges it was this dinner that gave him the moral motivation to lie in court in 2005, under oath, despite a withering cross-examination by the prosecution. The problem? Dan Reed flagrantly edited the sequence to exclude the other people present. One of their names? Taj fucking Jackson, Michael's nephew. Who says it's a heaping helping a horseshit, by the way? Oh, but Taj is simply defending his dead uncle, you say. Well, once again, Wade has...
I mean, yeah, the thing is even if he was drinking, he's a fucking adult. He can drink if he wants. So what? And after everything he's been through, I wouldn't have blamed him. I wouldn't blame him at all. Hello, skeleton.
Run afoul of the gods of time, as the dinner in question took place after he'd fucking testified in 2005. Surprise! What about Wade Robson claiming Michael Jackson gave him the Thriller jacket, even though it was actually kept by costume designer Demis Tompkins and auctioned off for $1.8 million to a random rich dude from Austin in 2011? Or James Safechuck claimed he was given Indiana Jones's bullwhip,
so cool.
even though there's only one bullwhip and it was donated to the Institute of Archaeology in London in 1990. Or Safechuck again, claiming he
I like Indiana Jones
with
stuff,
Michael
too.
at Euro Disney in 1988, even though Euro Disney didn't even open until 1992, which is during a time Gimme Safechuck claims Michael was no longer speaking to him.
He had been, I think, a little absent from my life, and then he's back in it because he needs you for something. He needs you to testify. So honestly, you're like happy that he's back.
Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs! Oprah better double pack that audience with sexual assault survivors next time. Maybe if she clenches real hard and glues her lassie wig down extra tight, it'll drown out the endless procession of basic timetable discrepancies with a wall of fucking feelings.
Feel triggered, feel me too.
I hate Oprah.
Raped. See people with tears in the audience. My heart melted crying. Feeling. How do you feel about that?
That's a tough one.
You'll remember that in 1995, he settled a civil suit for a reported $23 million after being accused of sexual abuse by Jordan Chandler.
Which, as I've already explained many times, is a happy byproduct of California law, which at that time ludicrously allowed a civil suit to be filed in advance of a criminal one. Meaning Michael Jackson's legal team would not only have had to prepare for a twin fucking defense against simultaneous, salacious court cases that would already be tried in media, but who, with a functioning fucking medulla, would motherfucking believe a civil case, even one that would have found Michael Jackson innocent, would not irreparably bias a prospective criminal jury against the goddamn defendant, even if he won, and he would have.
Hey, who's that song by? Dr. Feelgood? You remember that? Who's it by? Is it Motley Crue? I think it's by Motley Crue.
The jury in the criminal case would have been biased from
Banger
the get-go,
song, by the way.
simply because the civil suit existed at all. Michael's legal team begged the judge in '94 to postpone the proceeding until after the criminal case, as any rational being would assume it already would have been, and they were refused 6 separate times. And through all Shapiro's shrieking about payoffs, what the National Review's retardation showcase fails to fucking mention is that settling a civil case does not dispose of the criminal one. All the evidence in the case was already collected at that point,
for sure.
including nude photographs of Michael Jackson, the victim's sworn descriptions of his genitals, which, contrary to popular belief, must not have matched the genuine article, as the prosecution elected not to fucking enter them into evidence. Fucking oops! Unsurprisingly, in 1994, 2 separate grand juries decided not only was there not enough evidence to convict, there wasn't even enough evidence to indict.
Since August 1993, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department, the Santa Barbara District Attorney's Office, and the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office have been investigating allegations of child abuse involving singer Michael Jackson. That investigation is now complete. The young boy who was the catalyst for this investigation has recently informed us that he does not wish to participate in any criminal proceeding where he is named as a victim. We must decline prosecution involving Mr. Jackson.
They got no evidence. There is no corroborating evidence. They impaneled a grand jury in Santa Barbara. Now, a grand jury can indict this remote control unit if it wants to. You don't need hardly anything to get an indictment.
Yeah, he's saying the same thing as you, Lee.
There was no evidence. But how many of you have been thinking Michael Jackson was guilty for the whole year simply because the press had all these people? Cops raid Michael Jackson's homes, Peter Pan or pervert, pop star and sex probe. For the whole year since this thing came up, the American people have assumed Michael Jackson's guilty. because the press has assumed he's guilty. It's an accusation for which there's no defense. The minute the accusation's leveled, you're guilty.
But remember Shapiro's own words, kiddies.
At least if the allegations are to be believed, which all evidence suggests they should be.
But wait, it gets better.
During his criminal trial, Jackson urged both Safechuck and Robson, now adults, to testify he had done nothing inappropriate with them. Safechuck simply declined, and in his silence, he incurred Jackson's wrath. He threatened me with his lawyers and said I had perjured myself years ago. He recalls, the lawyers would get me. He says Jackson told him.
Putting aside that Scott Ross, the private investigator employed by the defense to cross-examine prospective witnesses, namely his statement this past week that Safechuck was not only never asked to testify in 2005, he was, quote, a non-entity.
Motions in limine are to prevent things coming in that are irrelevant. Safechuck, there was a declaration filed, I think, sometime in 93 or 94, 95, whatever, somehow in connection with the Jordy Chandler matter. And Safechuck had signed a declaration saying that, yeah, nothing happened. Michael never did anything, blah, blah, blah. He no longer had contact with Michael. And so Safechuck, for purposes of the trial, was what we would call a non-entity. The judge had already ruled nothing regarding Safechuck was going to be allowed.
What was that?
Nothing was going to be discussed. No evidence one way or the other. Safechuck, for purposes of this trial, didn't exist. So when I hear these stories that Evie Tavashi, who was Michael's personal assistant for 20 some odd years, was calling Safechuck repeatedly and begging him to testify.
And he asked me to testify, and I said no. And he got really angry at me. He threatened me with his lawyers and said that I had perjured myself years ago and that he was the best lawyers in the world.
Subliminal black lady.
That they were going to get me. And I just said, I don't want any part of it. You'll hear nothing from me.
It's not even absurdity. The stupidity of that comment is beyond belief, simply based on the fact that it's not up to Evie Tavashi to decide who's going to testify. It wasn't even up to Tom. It wasn't even up to Snedden at that point. At that point, the judge had already long since ruled, well over 7-8 months before, that Safechuck was a non-entity.
Benjo, didn't you graduate from goddamn Harvard? How is it possible you're not aware that a judge
I like how
in a
this is
criminal
just
case
flaming Ben
approves
Shapiro the whole
witnesses
time?
well in
I'm into
motherfucking advance? How could Michael Jackson beg Gimme Safechuck to cock-a-doodle-doo in court, let alone incur his righteous wrath for not fucking doing so, if, as Safechuck himself alleges in the documentary, the court case was already ongoing? That isn't how court cases work, kid. Didn't you go to school for this shit? More to the point there, paralegal eagle. Why in world-rending fuck would he want two kids he kitty fuck to be witnesses in his trial, and thus subject to cross-examination, during which they could easily break the fuck down and goddamn incriminate him, particularly when defense lawyer Tom Mesereau has gone on record as stating, if Wade didn't want to do it, someone else could have, and that the only reason they put Robson first was because after 6 years of estrangement, Robson himself had volunteered to tee up against the prosecution. In fact, it was precisely this gung-ho attitude that persuaded Mesereau Robson was the logical choice for a fucking leadoff hitter.
And if you put on a defense case in a criminal trial, you always want to start with a powerful witness. He was very powerful for us. He said that nothing untoward had ever happened, and then he withstood a very powerful cross-examination by a very seasoned prosecutor, and Wade Robson never changed his position.
That's why it's so absurd, because Wade Robson wasn't going to take the stand if he couldn't get through me. Wade Robson had to get through me, then he had to get through Susan and Tom, then he had to get through the police, being Sergeant Steve Robel and Lieutenant Jeff Clappis. And these two guys are incredibly experienced detectives. Not to mention, you know, what I had said before, not to mention, when you're under cross-examination, how do you get through the likes of Tom Snedden, Ron Zonin, and Gordon Auchincloss? And the fact is, once we turn over the witness list, they're perfectly capable of doing these interviews, and they did. So again, how is it that Wade Robson, he outsmarted all of us?
As you should know, as a theoretical lawyer yourself, the first witness for the defense is generally subjected to full court fucking press from the prosecution's cross-examination.
No shock there, Lee.
Particularly when said witness
None
is a
at
young
all.
boy, now a man, in a sensationalist molestation trial whose very presence and testimony dismantles the motherfucking narrative. Why put Wade Robson there if he had been fucked when there were, according to Tom Mesereau, dozens of other witnesses who hadn't been allegedly fucking fiddled? Man alive, Michael must have been mighty comfortable in his goddamn grooming practices. Practices Wade Robson describes in his sworn deposition as, quote, a single fucking phone call. Yet said programming was evidently so profound, MJ was willing to risk being hauled off the kitty diddler prison by putting up one of the members of his preteen pooper posse on the witness stand.
Well, there are a bunch of lessons to be learned here. Well, some of those lessons include, again, our capacity for cognitive dissonance blinding us to the reality.
Right? Like Big Ben's capacity to believe Wade Robson and James Safechuck lied every single time, except when they stood to gain $1.5 billion dollars in a lawsuit.
Shocker.
Like believing Wade Robson's ludicrous assertion that,
$1.5
quote,
billion is
I want to be
insane.
able to speak the truth
I'm sure you
as
do.
loud as I had to speak the lie for so long.
Yeah, I'm
Despite
sure.
the carefully fucking omitted fact that he filed his original lawsuit under seal to secure a silent payday. Whoops! Ben, buddy, facts don't give a fuck about your feelings. As for my own viewing, look, I watch live with each and every one of you on Periscope, links for which are in the description, so view them at your leisure, but brace for bullshit regardless, because the long-dead dog shit accusations come hard and... well, they come hard anyway. What I expected, given the emotionally arresting reaction described by the Sundance viewership, was a deluge of disinformative information I'd have to assess or debunk depending on the validity of the source material. And so, as you saw in part 2, I muscled up on my MJ allegation history. I went ahead and read through the entire transcript of Wade Robson's 2005 testimony, and I steeled myself for the fuckery to come. And then, as the conductor raised his hands aloft and the symphony of stupidity warmed up in unison, what emerged was a spider fart. In short, Leaving Neverland has nothing. Literally nothing. But anecdotes. Gang, that's the evidence. Dudes and their immediate families telling stories. Never mind that Wade Robson's on his 4th or 5th fucking version at this point. Never mind that Safechuck's on 3, closing in on 4. This is all the evidence the moving-going public requires to reverse course on Michael Jackson for time immemorial.
Oh, God, you don't know?
Maybe I should temper that description, as Leaving Neverland, hype notwithstanding, failed to set a matchbook on fucking fire in the ratings category, being outdrawn not only by third-string reality shows in its own time slot,
You should definitely
but also
watch
by
it. It's very funny.
rerun of a year-old fucking rock film, Skyscraper. Unsurprisingly, on the literally 2 or 3 occasions where it does saunter into specifics, it emerges with mountains of inconsistencies. In one harrowing sequence,
You should definitely watch
director,
it. It's
Dan
really
Reed,
funny.
has since admitted was actually filmed in pickups, meaning after filming was formally concluded, James Safechuck miraculously located his childhood wedding ring. One I already pointed out in part 2 of the MJ rebuttal was originally an accusation culled from Victor Gutierrez's book in '97, which was sued for slander and lost.
And I say married because
I have
we
a
had
weird sense of
this
humor.
mock wedding ceremony, and the ring is nice. It has a row of diamonds. It's hard to go back to that.
Okay, Abe. Sleep well.
No inscription,
Good luck trying to
no
fall asleep.
possible method of
To be
verifying
fair, I
that
haven't been
it's
yelling a
Michael
lot today because I have a
Jackson.
sore throat.
Hey, here's a ring I could have got from
There's
King's
that.
Brothers, Walmart, or a goddamn gumball machine. Please believe my ass. Made all the more suspicious by the fact
Love
he
you
conceived
too.
beforehand that at the same ceremony, he and Michael reportedly filled out wedding vows.
We did this in his bedroom, and we filled out some vows.
Which begs the fucking question. If you kept a kitty fucker's promise ring for 20 plus fucking years, why didn't you do the same for the vows? If Michael kept them, why weren't they among his effects during the surprise raid of Neverland? And so begins a familiar malady. Salacious descriptions of every lurid act under the yellow sun flow freely, and the accusers even take care to include utterly innocuous Polaroids
That's
of
actually
Michael
a good
Jackson
point,
chilling
yeah.
in a red shirt, watching
And they
TV,
didn't find the
playing
other
ping
ring.
pong, whatever the word
Odd.
rented fuck isn't incriminating. Indeed, the Robsons and Safechucks appear to
Yeah,
have
Quaalude
assiduously
got you.
archived every Michael Jackson missive, no matter how innocuous, from birthday greetings to hey what the fuck up phone messages to simple scribbles to say hi. Yet remarkably, all the texts and faxes, the phone calls and illicit encounters they allege occurred that might have conceivably provided the faintest fucking substantiation have all been completely lost to the rigors of time. A coinky of a ding-dong dink if I've ever heard one. All manner of emotionally manipulative pablum, from allegations Michael Jackson massacred his mother's marriage to mock weddings and hotel room reach-arounds, are exhaustively alleged in vivid, four-dimensional delineation. Problem is, the proof never comes along for the ride. And for a dead man, not extended the defamation protection afforded the fucking living, let alone one exonerated in record time of 14 fucking counts in court, I'd say that's an itty-bitty oversight. In the absence of factual fucking scrutiny, familiar fuckbags have emerged from the woodwork. Bodyguards sued for slander, multiple maids who did likewise. 60 Minutes Australia decided a full fucking hour should be dedicated to Adrian McManus, a member of the infamous Neverland 5, and a woman long since beshitted in court when she claimed Jordan Chandler, Brett Barnes, and Macaulay Culkin had been molested before her very fucking eyes, only for Culkin himself to appear in court and reveal her to be a flagrant fucking liar. Mind you, this was a full decade after she made a sworn statement in '93 that she never witnessed the faintest impropriety from the pop star. Perhaps most damaging of all, Adrian McManus explicitly admitted she was coached and aided at every turn by, you guessed it, our old pal, Victor Gutierrez. Man, that fella gets the fuck around.
At Michael Jackson's trial, you were found to have lied under oath.
Okay, now I'm going to explain that.
Centering an entire mini-documentary around a witness whose credibility was incinerated well over a decade ago.
She and 4 other employees sued the singer for wrongful termination and lost.
About Macaulay
Do you still
Culkin.
owe the Jackson estate money?
I probably do, but Michael's dead now, you know.
To call him leaving Neverland deceptively edited borders on cartoonishly charitable. At one point, a clip is presented out of context, one I've been hit with repeatedly as evidence of child abuse, wherein Michael is asked what the best thing about Hawaii is, to which he appears to respond with the words, being with James Safechuck.
Why? What was your best thing?
My best thing about Hawaii? Being with you.
This is, in fact, clipped from a mock interview Safechuck submitted into evidence in his case against the estate in 2013, which, as we all know, was thrown out faster than a W-2 form at Wesley Snipes' house. The problem? If you examine the available court documents, it's abundantly clear the clip's been filleted to fucking shit, as his full response is actually, quote, the best thing about being in Hawaii is spending time with Jimmy and Jimmy's family, and I can't wait to spend more time with them.
That's
now,
so
why would Dan
sweet.
Reed,
What
a
the heck?
dehydrated scrotum
And
with
they
an
took
English
it so
accent,
out of
make a
context.
convenient cut right before the fucking part about hanging with the entire
it
family,
does.
I wonder?
Being with you doesn't mean shit. It just means I enjoyed spending time with you. What's the problem?
Whatever the reason, I'm certain it's nothing at all to do with the fact that it's featured in a segment where Safechuck alleges Michael...
So, I can't say I like spending time with my friend's daughter who I babysit sometimes? What? That doesn't make any sense.
Kept him in isolation from his fucking family.
He's working on pushing you away from your parents, or pushing you away from everybody else, and it's just you and him.
You see, for all his vapid platitudes about
he was
sparking a debate
eccentric
and
for
spurring
sure.
a discussion,
For
the
sure,
truth
yeah.
is, Dan Reed doesn't want the faintest
But I don't think it was a kitty
beginnings
diddler.
of scrutiny, not in his film or indeed in his ever-loving life. Because when Diamond Dan at last vacated the U.S. media hug box Oprah painstakingly erected for his feckless ass and returned to gray old England, at long last, he was finally fucking pressed by, of all people, Piers Morgan.
Other than what they're saying, did you unearth any actual evidence?
You are.
Well, is it not true they're trying to
This isn't
sue?
about money. This isn't what the Michael
So
Jackson...
they're not suing for money?
Well, they're suing for justice. And
do they want money?
I don't know. You should ask them.
Well, you know the answer.
I ask you, how did it take this long for a reporter to dare to broach these basic questions? Folks, when the only journalist actually doing his job is Piers fucking Morgan, you know the profession is fucked beyond reckoning. Or Reed's further defense of providing only one side of the story, saying anyone with contrary evidence would be, quote, irrelevant.
What is the journalistic value of interviewing someone who says, well, Michael was a really nice guy and he'd never do anything to a child, particularly if that person has a gigantic vested interest in your financial interest?
Well, fuckbag, when facts are irrelevant, we truly do live in a kangaroo court society. A fuckmire of mass media manipulation long since divested of relevance, but is leaving Neverland a test, still possessing unparalleled destructive influence. For an audience that unflinchingly accept the occasionally unsubstantiated and more often outright disproven allegations in a documentary that repeatedly argues how easy it is for a single individual to manipulate a single child, you sure as shit are quick to turn a blind eye to how easily mass media is playing your witless asses like a fucking viola. And considering said propagandist media tactics are the precise practices alternative media figures like Ben Shapiro or Tim Pool profess to eschew, that's a dangerous habit to indulge further, my friends. Sketchy doesn't begin to cover this cock and bullshit. These allegations are a splatter paint away from being a goddamn Jackson Pollock painting.
Jedi, thank you so much. Thank
God.
you.
Fucking
Everybody
speed.
get here at once. Well, Jedi was already here, but yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.